Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the podcast where a real statistics professor
and his friend Jake
give you sports betting tips. I'm Professor Sides. You can follow me and find all my picks on Twitter at Professor Sides. You can follow my friend Jake on Twitter at myfriend_Jake. Today is Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022, and this episode covers today's best college basketball bets. In case you're new here, I built a mathematical model that predicts what the spread and total should be for every Division I college basketball game. That information, along with a graded A, B, or C pick for each of today's games not covered in this episode, is available in the Google Sheet linked in the show's description. A picks are the ones I love, B picks are the ones I like, and C picks are the leans. However, please remember that good and bad variance will occur, so as much as I'd like to say the model will be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Jake, yesterday the model did pretty well, 17, 12, and 1 on all picks. That was plus 7.7 units, so a good day for the model yesterday. You got one thing from yesterday for us?
Yeah, this is the best time of year, right? Like, this is when basketball gets fun. Like, we had some bad luck yesterday, like Texas Southern up 20, and then we lose. It wins by 2, and then I got lucky with Ohio State playing terrible throughout the game and then covering, and just all sorts of games like that. Like Florida State getting blown out by Boston College. Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
So this is the time of year weird things happen in basketball, and it's great, and I love it.
Yeah, being on Indiana plus 7 gets to overtime, and I don't even know what to say. Like, I gave that an A pick, and I'm standing by that. Like, anytime you take plus 7. Yeah, you take plus 7, you get to overtime. That's you nailed the handicap, and then it just went off the rails. At the end of the game, of course, you're rooting for the game just to end. You're like, I don't even care who wins, just somebody win, and then things fall apart in overtime. And then the Texas Southern one, the Apex went 0-3 yesterday, and Texas Southern wouldn't just say they were up 20. They were up 20 with like 6.5 minutes to go. And then it got tied, and we texted about this last night, and you mentioned this is not the first time Texas Southern has done this to us. So, I mean, that's a mental note of Texas Southern good and then just stops playing. I don't know. I feel like, especially for those of you on YouTube, you could see my face at this point. The auto people are going to miss this, but I feel like I just want 30 seconds of like that Justin Timberlake meme face of just the like, just sadness of what the heck happened there. We got to move on today. Overall, still the model did well. Before we get to today's slate, reminder, please hit that like button if you're on YouTube, subscribe or follow if you aren't yet. We appreciate both of those things and they help us out greatly. Share with a friend if you know others in the game, and drop a comment if you're on YouTube. We love those and try to respond to as many as we can, or tweet at us. We try to respond to those as well too. Game breakdowns yesterday, Jake. We both went 3-2. Although I'm still bitter about Indiana, I will be bitter about that for a long time. I said we should move on, and then I'm not going to move on. Tonight we've got 7 Eastern, 6 Central, Michigan State at Iowa. Iowa has been a fantastic over team. I see no reason to change that up. I'm taking over 153. The model thinks 156 is where the number should be. The model is 15-3 in Iowa over edges, even 9-6 in Michigan State over edges. I think don't overthink this one. The number has not caught up. There should be a lot of points. Iowa looks worse defensively every game. They look better offensively every game. That's a great recipe for an over. Jake, who covers this one with Iowa being a 6.5-point home favorite?
I really like Iowa at home, and like it was a fluke they got drilled last time at home, and I don't think that happens again. And Michigan State doesn't travel well, and they're also struggling real bad here. They're like on the year they're averaging like 66, giving up 66 points, but if you look at their last 5, they're up around 71, 72. So that's a big jump. So that really plays well for your over. If they give up in the 70s, you really just need a 10-point win, and you're pretty good. Iowa's, like you said, very good at home, 9-6 against the spread. They are an offensive team that's really great at taking the ball, so they're taking care of the ball, and they don't give up extra shots. They don't shoot the 3 quite as well as they did last year and in previous years, but they've also got a guy in Keegan Murray that just can create his own shot at will, it seems like, and he does it quietly, which is wild. He'll just all of a sudden halfway through the second half, and you're like, oh yeah, Keegan Murray's got 25. But how'd that happen?
Yeah,
but he's very good. They've got the better player. Michigan State struggling. It's going to be Iowa all the way here.
Yep. And I like to, as most of us who look at the KenPom numbers, I don't put any of these in the actual model because the books use KenPom numbers so much, and I don't want to use the same information they're using, but I do like to look at it and just kind of see how it backs up. But you look at KenPom's offensive ratings and Michigan State's almost a full standard deviation above average, and Iowa State's well over that. So talk about Iowa's offense being so great, and his numbers back that up as well. So you like Iowa to cover 6.5. I like that game to get over. At the same time slot here, we have Arkansas at Florida. I'm going over in this one as well. Slightly different bend for me on it, though. The model makes us 140, so that's quite a difference. So I'm going to take over 136. Both teams have been under teams, but this is a case where I think the number has gone too far. I'll mention this later on today in the show. I think it's kind of a similar case, but it's why I built the model, because when you see a team trending, over, under, covering or not, it's really hard to tell game to game if you're just eyeballing it when the number has overreacted, when the number's gone too far. And that's why the model exists, so that we can kind of know those things. So in the previous game, I don't think the number's gone far enough. The math still says that we can get over, even though those teams have been over. This one is a little bit of a different direction. I think these teams have been under, but the numbers come down too far. And so I think we're going to take advantage of that overreaction. I'm going to take over 136. I think we can comfortably get there and get up around 140. With regards to the game, Arkansas is a 1-point road favorite. Florida, we talked about this on Saturday, not an intimidating place to play, but got a huge home win. Another big game for them to try to make their tournament case. Can Arkansas go on the road and get the victory, or does Florida get another big home victory?
I think I'm leaning Arkansas here. This line at 1 really kind of confused me. I thought, Arkansas, the way they're playing right now, their defense is just incredible. Like, if you start looking at what they've done the last 3-5 games, their defense is up there in the top 2-3, and they force an incredible amount of turnovers, and their offense is catching up. They're getting some big play. I mean, everybody, I've gone on and on about how great JD Note is. He's incredible, but that Tennessee win they had on Saturday, where they only scored 58. But he really wasn't involved that much outside the opening stretch where he
had lots of fouls, ended up fouling out.
Yeah. So
that one hurt. We both had Tennessee on that one, and I thought, given how bad Note played, I thought Tennessee has this, and then still couldn't do it. A real testament to Arkansas for sure.
Yeah, but so that tells me the whole team's playing better. They've got a good matchup with Williams for Castleton. Like, Castleton probably will win the matchup, but he's going to have to work hard at it. And Williams is a very good defensive player. I think he's up there in the top for taking charges, which means he's really smart defensively and positioning himself well. And Florida can be very sloppy with the ball with the guards. And we saw they're not that great of a defense. I mean, Jabari Smith, Walker Kessler had a bad game, and Auburn as a whole had just a terrible game. That was just an ugly game. But Jabari Smith lit him up for 28, and I don't see any reason that JD Note doesn't get close to that, if not more. And I think Arkansas is just so much of a better team, and I don't understand why the -1. Like, even if you're playing letdown spots, you would think Florida would be in a bigger letdown spot, because Tennessee's not a rival or a huge game for Arkansas. It was just kind of there. So I don't know. I'm all over Arkansas here.
That's not beating the number 1 team in the country or number 2 or whatever, depending on the poll you're using, right? Yeah. I love, we don't really talk about what we're going to say, but I love when I take a total and then you take a side and you basically give all the arguments also for why the total is going to hit. I love it, right? You talked about Arkansas forcing a lot of turnovers. A lot of turnovers leads to quick points. You talked about Florida's bad defense. So yeah, you give some great ammunition to why the over hits as well, and you like Arkansas. So there's a couple of good plays for you on that game. 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, we have Oklahoma at Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a 10-point home favorite. It's quite a large number for a conference game, but the way they've been playing, it's definitely tough to go against them. I've got another over for you, over 130.5. The model makes it 132. This total is about as high as I want to go. If this number keeps climbing up, that's going to become a no play for me, depending on what the number does. I never really know. You never know with these so many college basketball games, smaller amounts of money move the numbers. You never know what people are going to do with their money, right? So if this number continues to go up, that's harder to buy into. 130.5, 131 is a about kind of my limit there. I think it should be 132. I think that Tech's offense has been playing a little better lately, and so I think we can get over the number there in this one. Jake, can Tech cover 10?
Yeah, I think they do it. I think they do it easily. I think they're going to be angry about what happened in the last Oklahoma game. They're going to come out. They're going to play just that incredible defense they go out there with. Like that's a given every night. You're going to run into this just in your face, no room to breathe defense, and it's going to be all sorts of turnovers that they're going to force. And then with the crowd at home, because from my understanding, I've never been to Lubbock, but I don't understand that there's anything there.
Nothing to do there.
This game. So crowd's going to get into it, and it's going to get rolling. And you're finally getting to see a Texas Tech offense that's getting all their pieces to get playing together more than like a couple of games. So they're getting rolling because they're getting used to playing with each other, and this could be the right time for them to do that going into the tournament season. But I really like this Texas Tech team.
And if I'm remembering this OU Tech the first time, was this the one where the big lumberjack didn't do anything? Was that game? Yeah, and that was so surprising. If he gets going, it'll be interesting to see how Tech handles that. Do they just focus on taking him out of the game and saying the rest of you guys can't beat us again? The way that they were able to handle them in Norman or not. So it'll be an interesting cat and mouse type thing there. What Tech's defensive plan is for that one, and then we've also got at that same time slot Villanova at UConn. 7 p.m. Central. I've got this as a wrong team favorite game. I've got Villanova. Yesterday, I had them as a 2-point favorite. Updated the numbers this morning. Numbers are a little more bearish on them than they were last night. Still a 1-point favorite, though. So I think Nova should be favored in this game. They're getting 2 points. It's a B pick for me on Villanova. If you looked at this last night, they were out to 2.5 even money. I think I saw a 3 scattered out there. If you get up to 3, that's an A pick. So we'll see where the number goes today. But to me, the key is that the wrong team is favored. I think Villanova goes on the road and gets the victory. It's not easy to get road victories in conference play against good teams. I just think Villanova is in a different class as UConn. They might actually be healthy. I feel like I should knock on wood, hold my breath on that one. Villanova's like Baylor, right? One of those teams where it's like every time you turn around, something else is happening. But if Villanova might actually be healthy, like I'll believe it when I see it. If they are, I think they're just a lot better than UConn. I think they can go on the road and get the win. Jake, what do you say?
Yeah, I'm with you on Villanova. I believe they are. I mean, Colin Gillespie's still listed on the injury report, but he's played the last few games and he had a career high in the last one. So I don't know that the injuries his ankle's really bothering him that much. If not, I'm scared to see what happens when he.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, this Villanova offense is something to behold. They've been together for so long. They play together so well. Jay Wright is just an incredible coach, and they are hitting their shots right now. They're hitting almost 9 or a little over 9 threes a game is their average, and they're hitting them at a 36-37% clip. So it's really hard to stop because then that brings everybody out to the perimeter and opens up so much space. And they don't turn the ball over. They just refuse to do it, which is great. And then they hit 82, almost 83% of their free throws on the year. And like anytime a tight game, you want to start looking at free throws when the spread's tight. And that is a sign of a great team because one, their best players are always on the floor because they hit the free throws. There's nobody you can like, okay, we're going to force the ball to this guy and then foul him. No, you're stuck there. And so you've got to really put them away early if you're going to do it. And UConn just doesn't have the horses to do that. And they showed it in the last game, and I think it was a 12 or 13-point victory for Villanova. And all of UConn's guards, I think I can't say all, but most of them had 4 fouls at the end of the game. And I think Villanova had 27 free throws. They hit 25 of them or something crazy. And I think you're going to see a lot of the same kind of patterns there because the way Hurley has his defense coach is very aggressive, very in your face, and Villanova's guards are smart enough to take advantage of that. And it's going to be very similar to what happened in that game. And I could almost see Villanova winning by about the same amount. But getting 2 points in your pocket would be really helpful.
And that's an interesting nugget, right? A lot of times people will look back at the first matchup and they'll see something like Villanova taking a bunch of free throws and they'll say, that's not replicable, right? The refs will be different, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes you look at it and you say, no, it will play out the same way. And here's why. So it's an interesting nugget there that you think it will play out the same way because of the style of defense that UConn plays. Like you said, the experience of the guards, Jay Wright being a great coach and saying, we're going to attack that and either force them. I mean, that sounds like the perfect game plan if you're Jay Wright, right? You know, we're going to attack that. We're going to either force them to not be aggressive, do what they don't want to do, or we're going to get them all in foul trouble. And either one is kind of a win-win. You got to say whichever one is fine with me. You talked about Villanova's offense, one of the most efficient offenses in the country. They do play slow. Both teams have a good defense, but I'm with you. I think Villanova's offense is the difference maker in this one to get the road victory. And that takes us to our Talk Me Out Of segment here. Late game for you that should be interesting. 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Boise State is a 2-point favorite. The model only makes it Boise minus about a half a point with a total of 121. That's what the model says. The actual total is 119.5. So, Jake, you like Boise on this one. The model has a slight San Diego State edge. Talk me out of San Diego State +2.
Well, first, I just want to point out that I am still on fire with these picks.
I was wondering if you were going to go, if you're just be like, I did this yesterday.
I
won.
Yeah, I'm just going to have this whole, like, I'm working on. I've got it at the printer. It's just a banner. It's just going to show, like, just trust me here. Like,
I like it.
So many days in a row without a loss. But
yeah.
So, like, this is probably the best game of the night. I'm excited to watch this. Not from an offensive standpoint. You've got two of the best defenses in the nation going at it. But San Diego State being the best defensive efficient team in the nation right now, and they both force about 14, 15 turnovers a game. San Diego State turns it over just a little bit more, like a turnover or two a game, which when you're looking at a 2-point spread can really be the difference in it. Boise State has been shooting a lot better here recently. They're hitting 47.5% of their threes in their last three. Like, I don't think that keeps up, but I definitely don't think it's going to drop down to the 33.5 they're averaging on the year. I think it's going to settle in closer to 35, 36, and that's extra points in their pocket. And their free throw shooting has come around, and this is one of the biggest reasons that I really like Boise here. They at home things are a little easier. You don't have the crowd yelling at you, and in the last three they're hitting. They're almost 10 percentage points up. From their 68 they're closer to 78. So this is like a big change in the game because now they can when they are aggressive on offense, it's not, oh no, I got fouled. It's okay, we're going to get one, maybe two of these every time. And so I really think it comes down to home court and the better free throw shooting with like the kind of hot shooting Boise State's got going. And San Diego State's defense, if you haven't watched them, it's really good. And it feeds their offense. So if Boise can hold on to the ball and not turn it over as much as or wins the turnover battle, they'll cover this fairly easy.
All right, I think I'm with you there. I will also lay the 2 with Boise. The model also has a slight overedge here, but I don't think it's adjusted well enough. Both these teams have been pretty far under my numbers. I have that San Diego State's actually been 6.5 points lower than my number. Boise State 4 points lower. Both offenses are actually fairly efficient. Both are above average. Boise State's solidly above average. And I think that's why the math is saying that the number should be a little bit higher than this. But I think the number is probably pretty spot on. So I'm going to stay away from the total on this one. I don't like the number of taking only 2. I don't think there's a lot of value in that. I think you're right. I think Boise gets the win. And at that point, laying 2 is not too complicated. We just have to hope they don't win by 1. So I'm with you. I will lay the 2 with Boise. If nothing else, I'm just going to roll with you until you have a disaster. You had one loss last week, but that loss was fluky with that crazy last-second shot. So at least until you get blown out one of these, I'll just keep rolling with you. Yeah, exactly. We'll bore both of those into our game breakdown records, which takes us to the overtime A plays. Yesterday, 0-2 in this segment, but my goodness, we talk about good and bad variance, and yesterday was just a bad variance day on both of these. Right. This is not one of those trying to make excuses things. It's just pointing out Colgate yesterday got ahead. It was a big number, got ahead of the number, and then got backdoored. They just took a little bit too long to get rolling yesterday. And that Texas Southern we already covered was just some of the worst luck. I don't know if I've ever seen – it's probably happened before, but I'm not sure I've noticed a 20-point lead turn into a tie game in 6 minutes like that.
Purdue did it, which is fun.
There you go. Just some bad variance today. We're going to get back on the right track with that today. I've got 4 A plays for you. The first one, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, Charleston +1 at Northeastern. Northeastern has been very bad. We are 6-1 on ARB fades of them. I think the number hasn't caught up yet, and the wrong team is favored here. Jake, I don't know if you had anything to add on that one.
Yeah. Charleston, I don't understand where this line came from. Northeastern's bad. Charleston's not that bad.
Yep. Same time slot, 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Rhode Island +8 at St. Bonaventure. We're 6-3 on A fades of the Bonnies. I like the number. I like that it's up at 8. That gives us a good chance that they maybe stop fouling, even if they are down late, or they can still cover 8. Maybe they win. Maybe they lose close. There's a lot of different avenues to get the victory there. We faded the Bonnies a lot lately, and it's mostly worked. So I think I'm going to hope that continues on. What do you think?
I'm actually riding the Bonnies here. They are moving up. They're playing better, and I mean, obviously their starting 5 is incredible. And if you don't get them in foul trouble, I don't see Rhode Island having the talent to do that.
Yep. Just a large number there, I guess, is the value play for me. And then at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, same time slot as all these other ones so far. Richmond, I'm laying 5.5 at George Washington. George Washington's actually been pretty solid. They've been a profitable team. I still think this should be 7. I think there's some value here at this number. I think Richmond, better team, goes on the road, gets an easy victory.
Yeah, I'm with you on it. It hurt me because I've been liking to play this George Washington team. They've been making me money, but Richmond is the right play here. They're a much better team.
Yep, and then the A+ play of the day. Most of these have been doing pretty well lately for us. Still that same time slot, all the A plays early on in the night, 6 p.m. Central. Toledo, I'm laying a big number, 11.5 at Western Michigan. I'm 6-3-1 backing Toledo. They've overperformed my numbers. I think this line should be more like 15. They won for us earlier in the year on the A+ play of the day. I think they can get it done again against a very bad Western Michigan team.
Yes, you took the words out of my mouth. They're very bad. Toledo's got a good offense. They'll cover this fairly easy.
There you go. And then that takes us to buzzer beaters. My buzzer beaters were 1-1 yesterday. I've got 3 for you today. The best B-side all time, we're 14-10 on these. I've got Nevada as a pick'em versus UNLV. I think they're a lot better than UNLV. They're at home. This line doesn't make sense to me. With Sherfield back, makes them better than the numbers give them credit for. If you look at Nevada's numbers without him, that's a different story. But with him, I think they're the better team at home. I think they get that done. I've got the total of the day. B totals went 9-2 yesterday. I happened to pick the one loser. That was unfortunate, but overall the totals really good yesterday. At 8 p.m. Central, I've got under 143 in the Kansas State-Kansas game. I mentioned this earlier. The model hasn't really done well on these two totals, but the number's just too high. Again, it's why I built the model to know that, hey, yes, I know these have been over teams, but the number has adjusted. I think that's way too many points in a rivalry game. Yeah. And then some afternoon delight. The over 149.5 in St. Thomas at North Dakota. The numbers have kind of balanced out on these two teams. St. Thomas plays a little bit slow, but they have a good offense and an awful defense. North Dakota has no defense. I think this gets over 150. Those are my 3 buzzer beaters. Jake, what are yours?
Yeah, went 0 for 2 yesterday, so I'm going to try to turn that around. I really like this Buffalo team now. I believe they've figured something out on both ends of the floor. I think they're going to run away from this Miami team, Miami of Ohio, and cover the 5 very easy. And I'm going with Texas A&M here. I know they're not the greatest offense, and laying 11 is rough, but Georgia has a bad offense and a bad defense, and they make up for it with poor shooting. So I think Texas A&M's got a good enough defense that they'll cover this 11 they need.
Jake throwing shade here to close out the episode. I like it. That's all we've got for you today. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Picks with the Professor. Reminder, check out that Google Sheet for picks and totals on all of today's games not covered in this episode. If you haven't done so yet, click that subscribe button for a new episode every weekday of the college basketball season and that live Q&A episode on Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central on YouTube. We will see you tomorrow. Until then, remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.